Hello everyone, I am Kalpesh Vittal and you are listening to The Silent Reformer, a biographical novel detailing the extraordinary life of the revered Pandurang Shastri Athavale.
Chapter 3: A Sanyasi's Global Family. Once in the morning, Pandurang was sitting in front of Anna, who was teaching him Manache Shlok, a philosophical verses written by Saint Ramdas. A piece was earmarked and Pandurang was asked to learn it by heart. Now I complete the morning worship. Till then you learn these verses by heart, Anna instructed him as he got to his feet. Anna had just taken his bath. As the ritual of morning worship was to be completed, he was not wearing a shirt on his person. To keep Pandurang occupied while he was busy in the morning ritual, he had asked his small grandson to learn Manache Shlok. Once seated before the shrine in the house, he first removed the stale flowers spread on the small idols. He took the idols into the broad, deep-set carved plate specially made for such rituals. Conch shell and bell, treated as important deities among Hindus, were also brought down in the plate. It made a tinkling sound. Then Anna bathed the idols with milk, followed by pure water bath. That filled the salver so much so that it was brimming with mixture of milk and water. Just then Pandurang came there and parked himself close to him. It was his well-known habit of sitting close to grandfather when he was engaged in service of morning worship. There he would make Anna answer all his queries and doubt regarding the nuances and process involved in the rites of puja worship. Today also he was closely observing all the movements made by Anna while he was busy in the service. Have you learned the verses by heart? Anna asked. Nodding his head, Pandurang replied, Oh yes, it was so easy. Anna was surprised. So fast? He said mockingly while taking the small idols one by one from the piece of cloth to wipe them dry. You are genius like Brihaspati, the sage of intelligence. Pandurang, however, was not attentive to what Anna was saying. Some of the idols were still there in the platter immersed in milk water mix. Unable to conceal his concern, he finally asked, Anna, why are these idols of various gods sunk in water? What do you mean by why? Shouldn't we bath the gods? Anna tried to explain. Then wouldn't they sprout like beans if they are kept in water? It was firmly etched on his mind that anything, if kept in water, sprouts. Therefore, he asked this question without any concern. Rather annoyed, the grandfather snubbed him in a scornful voice. Dear, how can the gods sprout? I simply do not understand how to answer the question this kid fires. You answer his one question and he scoops another one immediately. I fail to understand how such questions come in his hand in the first place. Now the time has to come to admit him in the school, remarked Saraswati Bai, who was sitting close by doing some domestic chores. How will that solve this problem? He will belie the teacher by asking such nagging questions, Anna said, while turning down his wife's suggestion. But there will be some peace in the house at least, she added in jest. No, no, I will never admit him in the school. That education is of no use to him. I intend to teach him Sanskrit, Teach him language. He will gradually learn Vyakran and Nyaya. Vyakran and Nyaya, two of the six Shastras. Learning Shastras was a part of the educational tradition in India. Tapovan, traditional education which was quite different from the new educational system introduced by the British ruler in India. This education system was the real education. It will prove to be very useful later in his life. Anna further said, what will he do with the education in school and colleges? He will be a clerk at the most. I will not accept it. I do not mind even if it does not go in any of the meaningless service. Our old philosophy and tradition are been lost and forgotten. In addition, Pandurang certainly has the intellectual capacities to preserve this tradition and thoughts. He must get a different, offbeat kind of education. He should never tread on the beaten path. That is why I will never admit him in the school. Instead, I will employ a private teacher who would come home to teach him. His schooling will immediately begin. Anna, while talking to himself aloud, was visualizing Pandurang's educational prospect. A moment pause later, he again said, now look, let him ask the question. He is a very clever boy. He thinks about everything, even at this tender age. Shouldn't we slake his urge to know more? Shouldn't we answer all his questions? Saraswati Bai could not help laughing. Look at you. Just now you scolded him for his asking question all the time. Now you are taking his side. No wonder he is your dearly loved, no? Isn't he your beloved? Yes, indeed. Saraswati Bai said and came close to Pandurang to pull him close to her in deep affection. Certainly, Saraswati Bai loved Pandurang dearly. She loved her grandson more than her own soul. Pandurang too was irresistibly fond of his grandmother. He often would yearn for her. Suddenly, in the middle of playing or studying, then under the pretext of being thirsty, he would come to her and cuddle her. From him, his grandmother was very thing in the world. He felt she was all knowledgeable person in the world. He would beleaguer her by shooting one question or the other, demanding answer to all his doubts whenever Anna was not around. She would try to slake his quest as much as possible for her, using all the knowledge that was at her command. However, at some time the volley of question coming from him would prove to be much for her to handle. Then in mock anger she would say, now this kid has to be admitted in the school. Grandmother never let Narmada and Pandurang feel the absence of their parents. They never came to realize their parents were at Mumbai, far away from them. As both the grandparents showered immense love and affection on the children, she never scolded them, nor even once, neither did she ever intimidate them of physical thrashing. Both the children were enjoying their days there in the affectionate company of their grandparents. Saraswati Bai had hugged him close to her with the same affection. Grandma, Pandurang asked, you only told me no, that if something is soaked in water, it sprouts. My dear, how would all things sprout? And how would this idol, made of brass and silver, would sprout? Aren't they made of metals? Oh, I thought everything sprouts, Pandurang said naively. Seated before the shrine, Anna was listening to the conversation with amusement. Now enough of chatting with grandma. get prepared for going to school. Though Anna had not admitted him in the school, it was his regular practice of accompanying his grandfather to school and occupying the front bench in the classroom. Anna finished his daily ritual of puja in a short while. Even otherwise, Anna never spent hours for puja rituals. In the times of 1925, such rituals had become the order of the day in the society. Many people would indulge in these rites and spend long hours in the household shrines. Anna hardly believed in this kind of reverence of the god. In his opinion, the god should be revered sincerely and some time must be spared for puja service. But one must never be entrapped in these ceremonies. He would find true religion and God in educating illiterate people, cultivate students in refined and civilized citizen, indulging in social work for the well-being of the society, making endeavors for emancipation of the downtrodden and all such activities. He would venerate this God sincerely and meaningful. Despite age catching upon him, his social work was going on unabated. Anna was a man of very high principles and self-esteem. He would never accept anything in gratis and he would stretch this principle to such an extent that he never brought home his salary for the summer months when the school were closed for the holidays. Why should I take the salary for not doing any work? He would ask. Instead, he would organize sports tournament for the student and spend his salary for buying prizes and gifts to be distributed to the winners. How deep was his commitment to his principle? Anna also was a committed devotee and disciple of goddess Saraswati, the goddess of intellect. He was rightly proud of the ancient Vedic literature and the rich tradition of saints and sages in Bharat, India. He sincerely felt that everyone in India must preserve the legacy of our own radiant and brilliant tradition and cultures. Anna just did not stop at only thinking, but brought his thoughts into practice by making provision of giving meaningful and traditional education to his children in the family. He educated his son, Vaidyanath Shastri, Pandurang father, in Vedic literature and practice, and made him well versed in traditional science like Nyaya and Vyakran. Anna's pride for Vedic culture was bordering on extremity, and so was his pride for the country too. His regard for the country was a matter close to his soul. His affection for his country occupied all the compartment and space of his personality. He was not averse to unabashedly showering this influence over him to anybody, anywhere at the drop of a hat, even during family gatherings on the occasion of marriages or sacred thread ceremonies. In those days, marriages and sacred thread ceremonies were the occasion where relatives in the family would gather and people used to chit chat, mimic, sing, tell stories, and entertain each other. In such event, if anybody goaded Anna to speak, Anna would immediately get to his feet and lecture the audience on patriotism. Fired by the pride for the nation, he would say, don't consume imported sugar. Use Swadeshi indigenous goods. Why do we need imported textile? Instead, follow the path showed by Gandhiji. Use khadi, homes per yarn. Spin yarn yourself. This only will emancipate all of us and our country. Anna's address to this kind used to be an integral part of any family event. Later on, Anna interlude had become a matter of ridicule So much so that people would despairingly announce, now Athavale teacher would get up and lecture on Khadi will begin. Such people and their remarks, full of derision and disdain, would never dent Anna's resolve and indigenous regarding consumption of indigenous good. He would be nonchalant towards such insulting affronts, as he used to practice what he preached. He himself would tread the path that he showed to others. He would carry people with him. He was certainly not an armchair social worker. Such was Anna's character, totally committed to the principle. He never would brook any other thing, including when he was busy in his social work. Not even the ritual of worshipping the god. He never made a ceremony out of this ritual. That is why now he put an end to his puja ritual. Glancing at Pandurang, Anna said, let me find a teacher for you today. If I get one, your education will begin at home immediately. Pandurang nodded in affirmation. After completing other odd jobs, Anna slipped on the sparkling white khadi dress on Pandurang's person. Pandurang held Anna's finger as both of them set out on the mission. By the time Anna finished shopping and headed for home, it was dusk. Shops in the market were lighted with oil lamps. In small shops, kerosene lamps were burning meekly onto the light of the face of the owners. Their light was so dim that it only highlighted the darkness. The flames of the lamps were proving to be a fatal attraction for small insects and flies that was hovering and gliding closely around the frame, only to be charred and lost in the realm of death. The remains were falling sumptuously in the caskets of vegetable kept beside the lamps. Made his purchases, he could bag pure vegetables without the sprinkle of any cadavers of the tiny insect. Purchasing of other sundry items over, his feet hastened toward home. Crossing the market, he turned left toward his residence. The grocery shop of Lalji Sheth on the right attracted his attention. Lalji Sheth was standing in the veranda of his shop. His dark silhouette was dominating the background of the dim light emanating from the lamp inside the shop. When Anna neared the shop, Lalji yelled out, who is it? Athavale teacher, isn't it? How are you, Lalji Sheth? Why are you so late today? Vaidyanath is coming home tomorrow from Mumbai. Therefore, some purchases were to be made. And you know, I get time for such work only after school hours. Anna explained his belated arrival in the shop. Your son, Vaidyanath Shastri, also has proved himself to be very clever as you are. He is in Mumbai, no? Oh, yeah. What does he do there? He runs a Pathshala there. Actually, that Pathshala belongs to his material uncle Godse only. And what about your younger son? Oh, Nanu. He is studying medicine. I see that. Means Nanu seems to be clever. No. Anna reacted with such kind of grit in his voice that surprised Lalji. It is Vaijnath who is cleverer. That is why he was trained in Vedic studies. One needs to have smart intelligence to take up Vedic studies than English education. Learning Sanskrit is not an easy task. In addition, what does it takes to such study English? It can be learned in no time, within a jiffy. Lalji Sheth burst into a loud belly laugh on Anna's joke. I thought education is in your trade of religiously priesthood was a child's play. He sheepishly admitted. Don't confuse Vedic education with that of religious priesthood. What you say is right. It does not take much to become a priest. Learn a few Vedic mantras, study a few religious books, and one can start the business of religious priesthood. Lalji said, learning Vedas to become a priest is different from to be proficient in Vedic knowledge. Vaijnath has learned Vedas for the latter purpose. Anna said, I hardly know anything in your education, Anna. Everything Anna was saying all was all Greek and Latin for a trader like Lalji Sheth. So Anna remarked, all right, let it be. Let everyone do what one is supposed to do. Have you finished your trading today? How will I finish, Anna? Every customer is familiar to me. I have to open shop at 5 in the morning, keep it up until 9 in the night. One has to do this to earn money, Lakshman Rao. Lalji Sheth complaining tone, however, could not camouflage the innate selflessness of the trader in him. His pretension grumbling only made Anna smile tongue in cheek and stamped a thought in his mind. Is money for you or you for money? There is too much and too many in the world, other than money to be earned. He bid goodbye to Lalji Sheth and headed for home. Crossing over the square, he stopped at the Durga Devi temple on the left. The Durga Devi temple, built in 1863, was a solid in construction. The temple had spacious precinct inside. At the distant end was the sanctum sanctorum that was now lighted up. Anna paid obeisance to the deity without entering into the temple and resumed his walk towards home. Suddenly, the Mendele mansion next to the temple attracted his attention. Mendele's palatial house was gradually merging into the darkness of the night. Built in sturdy wood, the mansion was wearing a grave look as usual. It was disappointingly large compared to the number of its inhabitants, so much so that a novice could take it as a deserted place. Weak streaks of dim light lazily emerging from some of the rooms and the small lamp bewildering lighting the secluded Tulsi Vrindavan. A pillar-like structure of chest height with Tulsi plant atop, however, vowed for some life in his expensive place. The sight of Mendele's house sparkled thoughts about its owner in Anna's mind. In the morning, only both of them happened to meet in the street. After the usual exchange of pleasantries, Mendele suggested Anna, you educated Vajnath in the best manner, made him an erudite in Sanskrit. Why don't you bless even our children and make them pandit like your son? What do you mean? That means why don't you tutor our children also? Tuition? Don't you worry about money. You will get whatever you say. I never do the business of tuitions. Without batting an eyelid, Anna had told him, your children are brilliant. Send them at my place. I will guide them, but don't talk of tuitions. Anna's sharp rebuke had startled the Mendele, because he did not have any knowledge of single soul in Rohe and in 5 villages around who had the gumptions to speak in such an upright manner when him with him as Anna did. After all, Mehendale was the court chief of Rohe village. Villager had to deal with him for no reason or another. They had to knock Mehendale's door in time of adversity. While talking to him, nobody had the nerve to look into his eyes, leaving aside speaking with him in a forthright manner. However, Anna did have that rare quality of uprightness. The brightness was inherent in the Athavale family since Pandurang Pant, Anna's grandfather, Athavale family had nourished the sense of pride and self-esteem that gave them the strength not to spread their hands before anybody, to seek help and enable them to look into the eyes of any adversity and face it bravely. They would never be yielding or submissive before any situation, however much grave it be. They would refuse to be complained to anybody, how much ever powerful he be. In fact, Anna needed money in any case. However, not to earn money by taking tuition was his principle, and he had the valor to fight for his principle. This valor only had given him strength to talk to Mehendeles, the chief, in such a manner. Anna's reply actually had astounded Mehendale, but without allowing it to reflect on his face, he had bid adieu to Anna that morning. You do not come, you do not want me to oblige you. All right. A day will come when you would knock on my door, he said in his mind. Anna obviously did not know what was going on in his mind. He also innocuously ended the brief meeting then, and then only by taking Mahendali's leave. Anna reminisced this entire incident occurred in the morning as he was passing by Mahendale's house. But by the time he drove the thoughts of Mahendale from his mind, he had almost reached home. He was to cross only 5 houses before getting into his own. Opening the gate, he entered the front yard and poured water on his feet before heading for the veranda. When he realized that darkness of the evening had deepened further, even the bridle way could hardly be seen. Lights coming out of the house was barely illuminating the way to the veranda only. He staggered a little as he climbed up the stairs of the veranda, only to witness an unusual sight in the house. Saraswati Bai was scaring Pandurang of the darkness. See how deep the darkness is, she said. Now a ghost will emerge from the darkness. And, hey! Anna shouted. Never scare him like this anymore. I warn you. Anna yelled so loudly that Saraswati Bai was stunned quite a bit. Pandurang too was taken aback and cuddled in her lap. Narmada, sitting close by, somehow managed to whisper, Anna, he was not listening to grandmother. He was nagging her. Saraswati Bai also mustered courage somehow after being abolished so sternly by her husband. I was beleaguered by her array of questions. I just said that Ekadashi was approaching and I must bring together the eatables needed for the fast. Just this much was enough for him to fire a volley of questions. So fast. Why should one eat this? And why should not one eat rice on the day of Ekadashi? This and that. How can I answer all this question? That is why. That is why he should be scared? No. Small children should never be frightened like this. That leaves adverse effect on their mind. They get petrified. Do you understand? Never again scare him. Anna once again slapped her verbally on the wrist. The next moment saw Anna cool down. He would never stretch an issue beyond a limit. As if nothing had happened, he put the bag of essential he bought from the market in front of Saraswati Bai. Then he removed the piece of clothes from his head and hanged it on the peg. By that time, Saraswati Bai had pulled the bag close to her and started inspecting the contents. Anna thought of the works ahead. Let me wash myself first. You start preparing for the supper, as I finished evening worship. Narmada immediately sprang up. Grandma, you better sit quietly. I will arrange patpani, the preparation before the meal. Hey, little girl, Saraswati Bai tried to stop her. Let me do the preparation. Why should you work now? You are too tired. What else should do these chores now? When I am here, I will take Pandurang also with me. Come, dear brother. Even as Pandurang got to his feet, Narmada had already got engaged with the work by girding her petticoat. It inspired Saraswati Bai to flatter her grandchildren. See how efficient is my child. She will certainly please her in-laws. She will make everybody happy. Then there once she get married. Isn't it, Pandurang? Come close to me, you brat. Grandma's innocuous remark, however, propelled the wheels of thought in Pandurang's mind. Without moving close to his grandmother, he said, my Thai certainly is compassionate. Moreover, she is especially very fond of me. Isn't it true, Thai? Narmada put the plate in her hands down on the floor and pulled him closely to her. Yes, my little brother, you are my darling and the dearest. Pandurang wriggled himself out of her embrace and asked her sister in a tone full of anxiety and agony, Tai, are you going to your in-laws now? Oh dear, I am not going to in-laws now. Grandma was just kidding. Hey grandma, hey Narmada, who says I am joking? 2-3 years and it will be time for your marriage. Saraswati prophesied as she emptied the bag bought by Anna. Is it so, Tai? Then will you not meet me? His innocuous inquiry prompted Narmada to once again pull him close to her and caress him affectionately. Who says I will part with you? She said assuringly. Aren't you my darling brother? Her assurance somehow normalized Pandurang's state of mind as an innocent smile dawned upon his face once again. In another corner of the house, in the shrine, Anna's Aarti musical prayer, sweet smell of incense pervaded the entire house. The melodious manner in which Anna was singing the Aarti was only heightened the solemnity of the ambience in that holy place. After preparing for the supper, Pandurang rushed toward Anna. He was revolving the lamp around deities in the shrine. The atmosphere had become smoky in and around the shrine. The lamp kept in front of the deities were lightened up. Anna's face in that otherwise dark space. The darkness in the background was further heightening the brightness on the face of the old man. Watching the hide and seek played by the darkness and the light on the face of his grandfather, Pandurang stood there spellbound. It was past 8 in the evening, usually the time to go to sleep. In those days, it was regularly custom to finish dinner soon after the dusk and retire into the bed as early as possible. The custom was in practice for the two main reasons. One, because everybody had to get up early in the morning, and secondly, people could not afford to keep oil lamps burning till late in the night, which is why at 8 o'clock in the evening people would be found in their beds. Atavale's house, however, was an exception to this custom because Anna usually would gather villagers and preach Janeshwari, the historic book of the verses told by Saint Dhaneshwar in the province of Maharashtra. It is a poetic explanation of Bhagavad Gita to them. The discourse would continue for 1 hour. Anna would retire only after the discourse, On that day he had not hold any session of discourse on Janeshwari, making it possible for him to go bed rather earlier than usual. Pandurang also was lying lazily in the bed. When Anna came in the vicinity, Pandurang called him. Anna, yes, my boy, aren't you feeling sleepy? Why don't you tell me a story? Then I will go to sleep easily. Story? I can't tell you any fairy tale, dear. Anna said as he turned down the wick of the lantern, hanging on the peg on the wall to reduce its lights. No, 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 no. Even I don't want to hear those stories. Pandurang was trying to persuade him. Then which story do you want to hear? The story which you avoided to tell us that day. Which story are you talking about? Which is that story that I didn't tell you? About my great grandfather. Do you remember? Anna smiled. Oh, you haven't forgotten it. How could I forget it? Tell me now. Not now. Some other time. No, you tell me now. It right now. Pandurang persisted. While parking himself next to him, Anna finally gave in to his grandson's nagging. All right, dear. You won't budge. Let me tell you all about it. Anna started narrating the heart-wrenching story. Anna's grandfather hailed from Pen. Pen was a tehsil place about 28 kilometers from Rohe village. Pen was famous for its huge market. The shop there would be spacious verandas in the front. After climbing up the broad stairs, the customer would land on the expansive veranda. On the right would be customers section where transaction purchasing would be placed, while on the left would be the administrative section where Shethji, the owner, would be found seated comfortable on a thick cushion, slicing betel nuts and chatting with someone or the other. Both the section of the veranda used to be always crowded as one would be occupied by the customers while the other by the guests, traders and friends of the Shethji. On the left side of the veranda, a mattress would be found spread. On the mattress used to be a thickened cotton cushion and two large pillows meant for reclining. The pillows would often be without covers. The pillows would never change their position from the moment they would be bought from the cushion manufacturer until they would be shredded into pieces after many years. Time and dust kept on settling on those large pillows years after year. Thickened, oily layer of dust would keep on getting thicker and darker as the time would pass by. They were never cleaned. It used to be the fate of the linen covering the mattress that would look like an atlas due to frequent spilling of ink on it. On the right side of the mattress would be a large wooden frame to keep a black ink pot and the bamboo pen. This wooden compartment, specially made for keeping the writing implements, would often have a small shelf at the bottom like a slit to a house. Fine sand, further made finer by filtering it through clothes, could be kept in the small shelf. That sand bed would serve as blotting paper. A copper colored large rolling notebook would be found lying close by. The notebook would detail the entire picture of the trading activity going on in the shop, and the shades of this very picture found spilled over carelessly in abundance, forming maps of various unknown countries on the mattress. This used to be common typical portrait of any shop in the year 1850. Would also wear the same typical look. There would be a front yard coated with cow dung. Close to the yard would be a scaffolding raised for hanging a wooden swing. Once one would see a woman sitting in the yard, either sifting grain or peeling vegetables. Having crossed the front yard, one would enter the veranda. Wooden pegs would be seen prepared liberally on the earthen walls of the house. The walls used to be coated with simple mud. Apart, apart from several rooms inside, an exclusive room would be spared for mothers with their newborns. A shrine would be seen occupying a corner of one of the front rooms, while the kitchen would be at the back side. In the kitchen used to be two mud stoves, which used to burn on firewood or cow dung cakes, right before from the morning till evening. Not all houses be would be like this, but almost all well-placed family would live in such houses. Pandurang Pant Athavale's house also was not different from any other houses in the locality. Beside the houses, he was also holding some landed properties nearby. He had amassed quite a sum from the business of a stamp vendor. Pandurang Pant's son, Parshuram Pant, also carried the business forward with equal sincerity and hard working. Stealing time from the business activity, he would go to nearby villages to deliver religious discourses. Reverence for their own culture was nurtured since then in the family of Athavales. Lord Shiva was Pandurang Pant's favorite deity. In fact, it was Pandurang Pant who had introduced veneration of Lord Shiva into the family. Well cultured and large hearted, Pandurang Pant was also known for his extreme sense of commitment to his principle. He was leading his life on the thin borderline between Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. He had the vision to read the future. Nobody knew whether he was conversant with astrology, but while talking to his son, he would often profess, "A legendary person is going to take birth in our fifth generation. See that he would not fall short of anything. We should have all kind of resources ready for him." Pandurang Pant's family was flourishing in every respect, so much so that it attracted envy of others. The fear came true as the envies worked against the happy, prosperous family. Pandurang Pant suddenly encountered a calamity that he had never imagined. Due to the catastrophe, his family life was completely ruined. Pandurang Pant had pledged guarantee for two of his friends in pen a few days ago. Both of them refused to pay the loans and expressed their inability to return the money they had borrowed. They duped the moneylender. Pandurang Pant was deeply pained to learn about the incident. He took upon himself the moral responsibility of repaying the loan and sold out all his property, houses, and everything he had won, only to be completely displayed in the process. Pandurang Pant's act of destruction to uphold his moral principle flummoxed many. Even the moneylender was taken aback. He told Pandurang Pant, "Listen, my friend, your friends duped me. I will recover money from them gradually, as and when it is possible. Alternatively, I will simply consider this as a bad debt. Why are you worrying so much? Why are you inflicting suffering on yourself? I gave you my word, didn't I?" Pandurang Pant had told him quietly and in imperturbed manner. "Yes, true, but there is no document on paper." The moneylender was right. The transaction of lending money to Pandurang Pant's friend had taken place orally. Nothing was written on paper. That is why the moneylender had further added, "A merely oral transaction is not at all obligatory on you. I cannot take any legal action against you." Pandurang Pant had again replied to his suggestion in a composed manner. "Isn't it true that I had given you the word? Whether it was oral or written, it hardly matters to me. It could be proved false in the judicial court created by the man, but what about the court of the God? In his court, written documents carry no significance at all. What matters there is the behavior of a person. Therefore, I feel duty bound to accept the responsibility of the loan taken from you by my friends. What an extreme sense of commitment to one principle. What a dazzling example of lack of attachment and lust for the worldly things. Pandurang Pant's behavior was akin to that of King Harishchandra, as narrated in famous mythological tale, who pledged him his kingdom to sage Vishwamitra in a dream. He kept his promise in real life, donated everything that he had to the sage, turned pauper, and accepted wilderness along with his wife and son. Similarly, Pandurang Pant had lived the truth that appeared like a dream in the real world, and in the process embraced penury and oblivion. For the moneylender, this kind of experience was very strange. He had not encountered a person as committed to the truth as Pandurang Pant. He was overwhelmed by the weird experience. Several people in Pen tried to make Pandurang Pant change his mind, but in vain. He told those well-wishers also the same thing. I had given a word, and I am committed to keep it. Irrespective of the consequences were for all to be seen. It was impossible for Pandurang Pant to continue staying in Pen in such a dire state. He felt that if he stayed on in Pen, people would pity on him and oblige him by any means. Nevertheless, it was against his principle to accept anything from anybody in gratis. Each cell of his personality was marinated in such high moral values. This was how he observed the Ayachit Vrat, a sacrament, in such an unswearing manner. That is why he decided to leave Pan forever. He left Pan only with the clothes he was wearing. Anna stopped telling this grieving tale to his grandfather and his uncommon commitment to the values in life. Combing small Pandurang's head with his finger, Anna exclaimed as if to conclude the storytelling session. Thus, your great great grandfather left Pen forever. The rest of the story I will tell you later. Now, let us go to sleep. Completely engrossed in the narration of his grandfather and not willing to see the end of the session so soon, Pandurang immediately got up on his elbow. Anna, tell me now only, what happened thereafter? No, my child, it is too late now. I will tell you the rest of the story tomorrow. No, Anna, no. I won't be able to go to sleep if you did not tell me the complete story now itself. All right, all right. Anna had to concede to his grandson's nagging demand. Anna was about to begin the story once again, just when Saraswati Bai entered the room. Dimming the lantern further, she also stayed on there to listen to the tale. Narmada had gone to sleep at that time. Pandurang, however, was all ears. While looking at Anna with intense eagerness, his eyes showed an uncommon glint in them, in the dim light of the lantern. Anna continued narrating the highly dramatic and moving episode in his grandfather's life. Repaying the loans taken by his friends, Pandurang Pant left Pen with only his clothes he was wearing on his person. However, the question that haunted him was where to go. Suddenly he remembered his daughter who was married in the Gangal family in the Rohe village. There is nothing wrong in staying with his daughter's family for a few days, he thought, and began his march for Rohe on feet. His son Parshuram was accompanying him. The road was not pakka and there was no hope of getting anything during the journey. Of course, their spreading hands before anybody for any help was out of question. Only a rich, well-off man was now treading the muddily track in strong sun in helpless condition. After 2 days of arduous walkathon, they reached Nagothane village. To reach Rohe thereafter, they would be climb they were to climb up and down the rows of the hills on the right. Only after crossing the hill one could reach Rohe. The path in the hills was heading through a dense forest. A small footpath was seen entering into the woods. The path was too narrow, deserted, and muddy. So much deserted was the path that its existence was probably known only to the path itself and nobody else. Pandurang Pant took that isolated road along with his son. Both of them were dead tired. Their stomach was empty, and whatever eatables they had with them were already consumed. All the tahan laddu and bhuk laddu, the ball-like sweets eaten to prevent thirst and hunger, had been eaten during the journey. However, as his daughter's house was appearing within the reach, the thought of hunger had started ebbing in the mind. He took almost half the day to cross the ghat, a mountain pass. After climbing down the hill, they reached Rohe village. They heaved a sigh of reprieve. When they reached at the Gangal's house, they were properly received by Pandurang Pant's daughter. She inquired about the well-being of all the other family members. Suddenly she realized something was amiss and asked surprisingly, "What is this? Where is your luggage?" Pandurang Pant smilingly replied, "My dear, I have come to you like this, with only what I am wearing now." Then he narrated to her that took place in the pen and how he embraced penury to defend his honor. Listening to his tales, his daughter deeply felt sorry for her father. She said compassionately, "Now you stay here without any inhibition or reservation. That is why I came to your place all the way from Pen." Pandurang Pant replied with a sense of relief. Since that day, Pandurang Pant started living with Gangal's family. The in-laws of his daughter, however, very soon he started developing a sense of guilt. He did not feel it right to stay with his son-in-law for so long. His self-respect began protesting his living like a destitute with the in-laws of his daughter, and that too at such a ripe age. Deep thinking about the issue was triggered in his mind. The result of this thinking was calamitous for all others. He decided to embrace sannyas, the lifestyle in which all the material things belonging to the outer world and the relation are renounced and the sense of supreme sacrifice is upheld. According to the Hindu way of life, sannyas is the fourth and the last stage in one's life before death, in which one is supposed to focus one's entire self on the spiritual growth and enlightenment. Pandurang's mind could only be imagined. All of a sudden, misfortune showered on him all the sorrows in the world. However, it was not his destiny that brought him to a stand at such a miserable pass. It was his own resolve and determination that invited such a wrath condition to come to his share. Having embraced sannyas, he donned saffron robes, stopped eating food prepared in his in-laws' house. He began the ritual of going to the villager house for bhiksha, a precondition of the sannyas lifestyle. Bhiksha means asking the family man to satiate one's hunger. True sannyasis never accept prepared food but only the ingredients, and they can call only 5 houses at the most in a day for accepting bhiksha. By accepting the bhiksha from the particular house, a sannyas obliges the family. Hence, bhiksha can never be taken as begging, as is wrongly construed. Om Bhavati Bhikshan Dehi. He would chant the mantras and demand bhikshas from the house. Whatever he would receive in the bhiksha would be sufficient for him, and in any case, he had lost interest in matters related to the outer world, including food. He practiced this lifestyle of sannyasi for some days. He finally told his daughter one day that he was moving out. Now I am a sannyasi. I am not supposed to live in a family. Therefore, I am leaving your house very soon. But where do you intend to go? His daughter asked, with trepidation and anxiety clearly palpable in her voice. To Bhubaneswar. Now I will not come back. In those days, Bhubaneswar temple in the deep woods was completely isolated from the village. Existence of human being in and around the temple was limited to a round in the morning of the pujari priest who would carry out the routine ritual of puja and vanish for the day. Pandurang Pant entered the deserted and forsaken temple. He went into the sanctorium and prayed before the Shiva Linga of Lord Shiva. Deeply seated emotion swelled to the brim of his mind as he prayed and talked silently in his mind. O Lord Shambhu, now I have renounced everything in the world and come to your feet. All my interest in the outer world has receded completely. So accept me and take me close to you. That is why I have come here at your doorstep. To please Lord Shiva, he emerged out of the sanctum chanting the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. Performed pradakshina, walked around the Shivlinga idol by encircling it halfway from both the sides and sat down to the left corner of the temple. Then he closed his eyes and started praying Lord Shiva intensely. He started singing Sanskrit stotras, spiritual verses in praise of Lord Shiva. He must have begun mental puja of Lord Shiva, and he must have been chanting incessantly at the Shiva mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. Anna was visibly moved as he narrated the story of his grandfather, while Pandurang and Saraswati Bai were enthralled to hear the exceptional tale. Gradually, he must have slipped into the state of samadhi, Anna told. With his inner eyes, he must have seen the sea of light, the light of ultimate knowledge. Moreover, chanting of Lord Shiva's name relentlessly also must have begun going on his mind. He spent as many as 23 hours sitting in that position of supreme bliss. At the stroke of the 23rd hour, however, he was endeared by Lord Shiva. The Supreme Being and its particle became one with each other. The radiance of the flame merged with that of the God Almighty. And see the coincidence. Exactly 4 days after the liberation of Pandurang Pant, soul from his body, the War of Independence was lost in 1857. Pausing for a moment, Anna further said, a shrine was later constructed on the place where Pandurang Pant laid down his body and met his Lord, and where his mortal remains were buried. The British government has showed the place of the Samadhi separately in the 7 to 12 records. Do you know Pandurang? We have purchased a large piece of land in that area in memory of your great great grandfather. Small Pandurang was completely overwhelmed to hear about the heart-wrenching yet radiant tale of his great-grandfather and the dazzling secret of his family. He began feeling proud of his ancestor, commitment to the values and the ideals of life. His mind became a ca- cacophony of diverse emotional upsurge as thought about the poverty, isolation, emotional bonding, principles in life, destination, sannyas, samadhi, etc. crowded his mental place. In such turbulent state of mind, only he visualized Pandurang Pant sitting in the corner in the Bhubaneswar temple, meditating deeply in front of the Shiva Linga, ideal of Lord Shiva. The inspiring image of his ancestor continued appearing on the mental screen before his inner eyes even as he was sucked into the vortex of a deep sleep shortly after. Thank you for joining in. Stay tuned for the next chapter as we will delve deeper into the profound teaching and the transformative experience of Pandurang Shastri Athavale's remarkable journey. Until then, this is Kalpesh Vittal signing off. Jai Yogeshwar.